All right, Proverbs 18 and cheerleading, and how does it relate to cheer? As you can see, I'm out for a walk, so bear with me. I need to get these done as I move through my day. As I'm sure you understand, as in cheerleading, things get really busy and hectic, and we just have to sometimes fit things in. And I like this chapter. I just was listening to, I had a hard time reading this chapter because basically what I read is everything like we need to listen more. We need to, don't just speak out and don't just speak your mind and lash out, but listen, stop, pause, take in what people are saying and understand. My coach, Greg Todd, who inspired me to do this challenge, was explained better today. And I haven't heard the whole thing yet because time. But he related community. The first verse of Proverbs 18 talks about isolation. And he related that into needing community and how important it is. And he also talked about listening. So let's talk a little bit more about how does the need to listen in the community affect how we are in cheerleading. One big thing that I really love to do in the clinic, and I struggle with it in my regular job because everything is rushed in time and it's just the way of life, right? It's the same thing as everybody. You only have so much time in cheer, to be able to stop, check in with all your cheerleaders, find out how their day was, and listen to where they're at. But it is really important with every cheerleader to stop and to even just, if you're tuning in to the buzz through the day, where are they at that day? Did they struggle with a test? Did they get in a fight with their parents? They're coming home out of practice and are they kind of grumpy because they didn't hit something? Most likely, with my experience, they're going to kind of not say anything. Teenagers don't like to say a whole lot. Or young kids. Young kids might talk to you, but the teenagers probably won't. So, but read between the lines. Listen. We don't always have to tell people how to correct things. We don't always have to have the answer for everything. But part of being that community and not being isolated is being able to listen and connect and find more about what has gone on with our team. And if you're a cheerleader listening to this also goes for you. Your coach, your parent, they may have had a day that no one wants to speak of. And they're either lashing out and yelling at you. If you can stop, put a little barrier up, don't take the lash out personally and see where they're at, it makes things a lot better. I have always been a more introverted person. You might not think that because I like to get on here and talk and ramble, but I'm very introspective. I try to find out, I like to listen to what people are talking about. I like the feeling of it all, and how I'm interacting with people. I try to tune in a lot to help make people feel better. And I also like to just be by myself. And that isn't always the best thing. Cheerleading gave me that out. When I was a cheerleader myself, it gave me a community that I connected with. In college, they became my best friends, pulled me out of my shell, and let alone being at games. But, I had a community that I could spend time with that got me out of just being alone and too much thinking and in my head. I think they probably struggled with my own head sometimes, but that community is really important, and I think cheerleading is a fantastic way to be involved in a community. And it's very, so the community factor fits in, and maybe we don't want to be there talking all the time. We need to find that time outside of practice. But when we can connect and listen, that makes that community stronger, and it helps to build up relationships, and it helps to build up the team so that your team is able to do more, because that's what builds trust. My cheer team, we trusted each other. We spent a lot of time together, both in and out of practice, and we really developed a big trust for every one of us, so that when our pyramids came due, we knew they were going to be there. Even if there was a distracted moment, and we had to work that through. So this chapter really talks about the bond of the community, not being in isolation. Cheerleading is not an isolated sport. I used to hate we have to try out by ourselves, but we never are by ourselves in cheer, right? If you're on the sidelines, you have your team. If you're stunting, you have a partner, or you have a group of partners. So we're never really in isolation. And although you need to know your stuff individually, it's also important to put it together and be able to work together and blend. Picture you. One more thing on the community and the listening factor. This is really not related to cheer, but I had a person trying to do something for my dad, and someone that he is involved in the property called me a few weeks ago and was not happy with a decision that I had made, and they needed to just vent to me. There was some other things going on. Somebody had died in their family, and they were really hurting. But they were lashing out to me. They were nasty. They were rude. They said things that were not true about me. And my first defense was to react and to just tell them, no, that's not true, But I took a step back, and I had to stop and listen. And in listening, I learned and I could hear the hurt that was there. And while they weren't happy with my actions, their anger was not directed at me. Their anger was at losing their son, which completely sucks, and was unnecessary. Who am I to say? We're talking God. I don't have control over who lives and dies, or what time it is. I do think when it's your time, it's your time. But that anger was there, and they needed to get it out, and they needed somebody to vent at. And if I didn't stop and listen, it would have spiraled more. But in being able to stop and listen, we were able to end the conversation peacefully and keep moving forward. So how do you relate that to cheer? You recognize there's going to be times when things are not going well for you, inside cheer or out, and you have to stop. Maybe you're going to have to express where you're at. Maybe your teammates are going to, and you have to stop and listen and have some understanding and have some patience, because that community, they need you as their rock, and you need to rely on them for your rock as well. I hope that made sense. That's Proverbs 18, at least verse 2. It wasn't the verse that I originally planned on talking about, but I liked how he tied that together, and I think that's really key for cheer. All right, it's a beautiful day here, and I hope you have a wonderful day as well. Get out and talk to people, make connections, speak good and lift up your fellow teammates. Before you leave practice today, tell them something good that they did. Tell them something that you're grateful for, and make it a good practice. And we'll see you tomorrow.